how I closed a stranger into a $1,500 client in 30 minutes in a bio break. I'm curious, do you think this way that the moment my side hustle matches my salary, I'm out? Or maybe, can this ever happen that my side hustle matches my salary? Because this isn't theory, this is real, battle tested, proven, and ready for you to actually apply and make that happen. So, back in 2015, when I left my corporate job, that means no more boardrooms, no more suits. I was an entrepreneur. And what does that mean? That meant pajamas all day. It sounded fun, it sounded like freedom, but underneath that freedom, there was like a cocktail of stress, confusion, panic straight up. How do I even find clients now? How do I sell without feeling weird? And what do I even post on social media on everyday basis? And how do I reach out without looking desperate? So what did I do? I did what every overwhelmed entrepreneur does. Bought a tons of new courses, spent about $15,000 into coaching, felt like I was collecting PDFs instead of making actual money. But one thing kept me going, and I knew that I could help people sell better. I had been doing that, I'm marketing better. So I grabbed every chance to share what I knew. Paradox it may sound, but you will agree that you might be a marketer or running a big show as a leadership in a leadership position with big brands. But when it comes to your own business, it isn't the same. And you'll know why. We'll dissect all of that in a bit. Um, Picnics, I started talking about marketing. We went for trekking trips. I started talking about sales. And I went for book meetups. I started talking about story selling. And then something crazy happened. I landed a client in a washroom. I was at a personal growth workshop, and during the tea break, I went to the ladies' room. Now, normal people would wait in line quietly, but not me. I casually started chatting with others in the line. Suddenly, boom, a networking session of sort was happening in that bathroom. By the time I was getting back to my seat, Sonia was rushing over to me and said, "Can I get your contact, Latika? I would like to discuss possible collaboration." Mona literally followed me and said, "Where are you sitting? Let's sit together if there's space." So I said, "Okay, let's see if we can find some space around me." And for the next 2 hours during the seminar, Mona and I were in deep conversation. She was picking my brain about her business, and I was basically consulting her for free. And as the workshop, our mentor continued, Mona and I were exchanging hushed whispers with each other, sharing ideas about her business. And by the time the next tea break rolled out, Mona and I were sipping our tea, and she looked at me dead in the eye and said something to me, and I was in seventh heaven. I was happily surprised. "Latika, I would love to work with you. How do I start?" And next day, I sent out my entire coaching details to her. No sales pitch, no chasing, no fancy strategy, just a real conversation, me sharing my passion, actually helping her out. And boom, $1,500, 1,25,000 landed in my bank the next day. And here's what I didn't do. There was no pitching. There was no fancy sales script, no awkward, desperate, "please buy from me" energy. What I did do was spoke with passion, kept it very simple, no jargons, and made it about her, not me. And just like this one, I repeated this process in other setups like one-to-one meetings, group gatherings, uh, one-to-one Zoom calls, um, right? But what did you exactly share in your introduction inside that fancy washroom, Latika? The same frame that I did when I um, landed corporate clients for my marketing agency, Mistletoe, when I started. When I started my own marketing agency, um, again, around 2015, I had zero leads. No one knew me. So instead of waiting for magic to happen, I opened a Google Doc and typed hospitality companies near me. I read their blogs, I studied their gaps. I kind of just picked up the phone and I didn't pitch right away. I called to compliment their work, something like, hey, I'm reading your blog and I'm loving how passionate you are about, your line of work, your cuisine, etc. And and I'm just curious to know what would happen if your restaurant started showing up on the first page of Google, because right now I don't see that happening. So I'm curious. Or, what would happen if you start getting good visibility on social media? They said we would be full if that happens. So I said and gently used to say, then right now you must be losing X, X number of clients or X revenue by not doing this. They used to reply, and I used to say, can I come and show you how to fix that in about 12 weeks from now? Yes, of course. Come tomorrow at 3 p.m. So that's how my agency journey also started. The same year, I also started exploring coaching. So, what I was doing in these deals and closing them like a boss was not with ads, no funnels, no magic like that, but the storytelling, curiosity, and courage. And the framework that I use every time is a simple 4P frame, which is also, if you notice it carefully, is the extrapolation of the passive frame that we learned. But let's just say 4P is like a big daddy of the story setting framework, and inside we have various other frames. So here's the 4P frame, battle tested, the one that won me more than 500 high value clients by now, and something that you can take home. Now, simply because I've taken time to understand my clients' problems, pursuits, which you too have by now using the money making research. I was also living out a very powerful story selling principle, which is good story listening always comes from good story telling, or good story listening always comes before good storytelling. And so the number one thing that if you want to tell a good story, you have to understand your audience, problem, and pursuit. No high pressure tactics. You will engage through real conversations, sharing compelling stories, and build trust. Plus, you will find yourself enjoying the process of connecting, creating. And number two, you want to create a picture that they can remember and repeat. You need to co create a reality that shows that you understand the problem, yet hints at a better future for them. To do this, you will need a specific person, a specific challenge, a specific imagery, and specific feelings. It's the reason why Nike's ads and with LeBron James or Virat Kohli for that matter, don't include a bunch of close up shots of shoes that they are selling. They don't need to. They found the perfect person in LeBron James or Virat Kohli to represent a specific relatable challenge, which is overcoming the obstacles to beat an opponent. Then they use specific imagery to represent a specific progression of feelings like defeat and discouragement to hope, victory, and resilience. And once you have gripped by a story like that, it doesn't, it almost like goes without saying that you want to wear the same sports gear that Virat Kohli or LeBron James does. To inspire action, you shift beliefs, paint a vivid picture for your audience through words and imagery that they can instantly recall when they think of you. So, if you're going to tell a good story, you have to, number one, know your audience problem and pursuit. You must, number two, paint them a picture that they can remember and repeat. And finally, number three, you must propose. This is the tension we stand in as marketers because we're always making proposals. Buy my product, try my service, come to my event, join my cause. And as much as we want to hear that excited yes, we are also pretty afraid of the rejection of no. I mean, let's be real, especially a public rejection, where despite your best efforts, preparation, good intentions, it sometimes just falls flat. But this is the power of story because stories make proposals appealing and increase your chances of success. So, first, stories help you get the timing right. How many of you know nobody wants you to propose marriage on the first date? But too often, we expect our audience to commit too soon. Well placed stories slow down the process. Good stories also make your proposals irresistible because they build that connection. And by the time you make your ask, it feels like a next logical step. That means no chasing them, no endless follow ups, no getting ditched or ghosted. And the big one, no discounts. In fact, I charged more than 7 other vendors for Hilton hotels, and they still chose me. Why? Because they felt understood like never before. You're going to be hearing that story in the Close the Deal session very soon. So once you win a client with that approach, they are not going to go anywhere. That's why I have a membership that people renew every month, every year. My agency clients kept renewing their contracts every year. One even stayed with us for 5 years. As far as I know, that's way above the industry standard. So there are no high pressure tactics, no sleazy sales pitches, no scripts, no complicated strategies. Everything is very simple, straightforward, right? You engage in real conversations. You don't have to worry about rejection or awkwardness. Well, that's also about, resilience, etc. But let's talk about the path of least resistance here. So you can be yourself and still attract clients effortlessly. And here's the best part. Once you get comfortable with this approach, selling becomes a second nature because you're not forcing yourself into uncomfortable situations, right? We all have our comfort zones. We all want to sell in a way that feels natural, enjoyable, but most methods try to push us out of the comfort zone, and that's why they don't work. So if you have found the right people, right, your own right people that you want to cater to serve, the next step you are suggesting is something that they will want as much as You do. And so, tell more stories. In fact, tell your stories. It might be the details surrounding your greatest losses, your greatest wins, uh, or the context in which you have learned your greatest lessons, life lessons. They will paint the picture for them. They will let the people know that you understand my problem. And who knows, maybe your stories will serve a bigger purpose. Maybe they'll help someone find connection, community, and a little bit of fun, just like so many years ago I discovered mine.